This video is about a project I took on to build a custom dash. Wanted to have something that would take odometer gauges, update the look of the car, but didn't want to go with some of the mass production parts that are out there, the plastic um, dash inserts. And so just went along the path, and the next couple minutes is the process I took to build this dash. So hope you guys enjoy it. So here's the dash I'm starting with. It's a stock 1965 Chevelle Malibu dash insert, the factory gauges. Next step is to go ahead and cut that center section out and start fabbing up, mocking up some shapes that we'll put into metal. So we'll see how it goes. Here's the back of the factory dash instrument cluster. I'm going to go ahead and remove that, and then got the Dremel tool ready, and I'm going to go ahead and cut out the center section of this dash. And you can see I've got the center section cut out. And just with the Dremel, took my time. There's a small edge. You can kind of see it here. Small edge that I first pass, rough cut. Kept that ledge in the event I ever want to, mount something behind it. It'll act as a trim piece. So most of that will be covered up with the plan and the idea that I got in mind right now. But as for right now, I got that little bit of a ledge. So the goal is to take this shape that's in the dash and that goes across through the passenger area, and build a back plate essentially that comes out and kind of follows that shape and goes up. And I'll have my gauges across here, a couple additional gauges here. Next step is to make a paper template, kind of capturing the shape, and then figure out what it's going to look like, what we can actually do with some gauges here, and hopefully we'll have some progress. All right, so here's the first template I've made. That's following the contour of the dash. You can kind of see that's the shape I was talking about. Initially looking at it, it's probably going to hold the form that I want, but being that there's not a whole lot of room on this bottom edge, taking the shape back doesn't give me a whole lot of room to recess the gauges. So I'll probably open up that bend right here, and try to bring it coming straight down right about through the middle over the panel, and then taper it back to catch and sit inside that inner ledge. It's kind of hard to see here, but here's the progress on the dash project. You can see I made some templates for the corners. Take your time there, sand off the corners, get it nice and smooth, follow your angle. Then I kept this piece here from that first template I made, and you can kind of see it. It'll drop in, it'll keep the angle of the dash. Now I just got to build the center portions for where the gauges will sit, and we'll keep the progress going. Here's the concept for the 3 gauges that'll be off to the side. So I'll make a template similar to what I made here, and have these raised. The template will look somewhat connected, but they will be separate pieces. Here's the latest on the dash project. This is the way I'm fabbing it up. Decided to take the bottom half of the wood piece that was going to be under the gauges. Once again, this will be all wrapped in leather. Something like you would expect like on an Audi or something. And on the bottom I just fabbed up some cups, so it'll mount in real clean. Don't knock me on the welding. Yeah, I'm not a welder, just do my best. Got to get my last gauge here. But once again, this will all be essentially wrapped in leather, so this wood will just give it a nice little standoff. I'll have to secure it tightly to the back dash piece, but that's the latest in the project. Got my gauges in. Got my LED turn signals put in. Found these on, I think it's Wave Tech. You can see they have a little bezel around the light, similar to the gauges. And on the back, show you how I mounted everything. Created some standoff tabs. You can see, screwed through them. They hold the metal piece here off the same distance. And on the bottom, have just a little metal tab that kind of hooks and curls around, so it gives it a sturdy mounting. Once again, this is what it looks like. Put it in the car, fits out really good. Once it gets all mounted into the dash, it'll fit nice and tight. All the bolts will hold it on across the bottom, won't move around. Here's the update on the dash project. Had a couple change in plans. Decided just to paint this flat black, so I got it back from the painter. And initially the plan was to take this piece, wrap it in leather or a real nice material, something you'd see like on a later model European car. But decided to keep a little bit more subtle and not have to worry about integrating in that material into the interior plan. So instead I made these pieces out of aluminum, and they will replace what was going to be wrapped. And the game plan is to, once everything's mounted, or right before everything's mounted, just give these a quick sand and polish along the edges, so that I have some contrast. Those are the gauges, but you'll be able to see a little bit of what the contrast will look like. And it should kind of go along with the theme of the carbon fiber gauges with the aluminum color bezel. So once these edges are polished out in the setup with the gauges, it should have a good overall aesthetic. Nothing too poppy, nothing too plain, but altogether a nice custom look. Here's the final on the dash project. The last step was to polish out the edges along these pieces here to give it a little bit of contrast. I found that all just flat black was, or semi-gloss black was, a little too muted for what I was looking for. So this look actually matches the bezel of the gauges. And you can see it gives it a nice contrast and overall aesthetic. Here's a picture of the dash project completed. Fits well when installed, and I'll be updating this video with a picture of the install, but I wanted to share it. I still have some wiring to do, so it might be a couple weeks till I get to the point where I can go ahead and seal it up for good. But thanks for watching. Leave some comments or feel free to ask some questions, and I'll try to get to them when I can.